Hi guys, this is Toby Foster and you're listening to SNYA Radio. Today I'm interviewing Miss Susie Fowler Watt, who does Look East on the BBC. Hello.
Hello.
I'm going to start by asking how you started out in your career.
Well, I got involved in journalism as a student, and at that point I didn't really think of it as a career, but as it went on I enjoyed it more and more, and my sister-in-law, who worked for the BBC, said, why don't you think about broadcasting, because I was very into drama and things as a student as well, and I saw it as combining the two aspects, journalism and performance. So I went and did a postgraduate diploma in radio journalism after leaving university, and got sponsored by the BBC, which was very lucky because that meant they paid for the course, but it also meant that they had an interest in employing me at the end of it. And I went into local radio after I left the course. My first job was lower stock reporter for Radio Suffolk, and I worked my way up the ladder in local radio, then went to Westminster, and it just kind of carried on from that, really.
Right, what would you say was your inspiration then to get into all of this?
Well, you know, I used to watch the kind of foreign correspondents, you know, the female foreign correspondent like Kate Adie, who was always popping up in the war zones, and I used to think, I want to do that, that looks really exciting. As time went on, I wanted to be a reporter or a correspondent, but actually I didn't really want to go to war zones if I could possibly help it, so I decided I wanted to be more of a kind of domestic news reporter, and I really, really wanted to read the news, because that is where the element of performance comes in. That's what I really love, that idea of actually being on air live and having to kind of just perform. So I ended up very luckily at the age of 27 doing this job. That was quite a few years ago, and I just have loved it. I've never wanted to leave ever since I've been here, so I was very lucky to get the job I wanted at a reasonably young age.
So you've always aspired to be in the media then?
No, actually, it was interesting because I went to, I got a place at university to read medicine. I was going to be a doctor. And so it all kind of changed quite radically. During my gap year between school and university, I went abroad and I did some studying abroad, and I studied philosophy, and I really just, the more I was away from home and away from other influences, the more I realised I didn't really want to be a doctor. And being a doctor is so vocational, you really have to want to do it. It's not something you can just do for a few years and then give up. And so I changed and went and studied philosophy and psychology at university. And then I wanted to be a clinical psychologist. And then I realised it was going to take me 5 years before I could actually start being a clinical psychologist after graduating. And I just wanted to get out there and work and earn some money. So that's where journalism kind of fulfilled a lot of other things. And I never knew whether I was going to stay in it. But the more I did it, the more I enjoyed it. And it is a great career, and it's very flexible, very interesting. So I've never wanted to move on to anything else.
Okay. Do you prepare yourself in any way before you go on television and present the news?
Not so much now. When I first started, you know, I had to really kind of concentrate, really think hard about it. But actually, one of the hardest things about doing the job I do now, which is presenting the regional news programme, is just being yourself. It's not acting. In some ways it's easier to act because you put on an act, and if people don't like you, you can just say, oh, it was the character that they didn't like, not me. To be a good presenter, you have to be yourself, and so if people don't like you, they don't like you, and that's quite hard to let yourself go and just relax and be yourself. But I've been doing this 12 years now, and to be quite honest, I don't think a huge amount about it now. It's the job I do every day, and I you know, it's like anyone doing any job. When you've done it for that length of time, you just do it.
Would you have any advice then to aspiring journalists, people wanting to get involved in the media and television?
Yes, definitely. For young people like yourself, I think if you're wanting to be involved in journalism or the media, get as much experience as you are. For example, you know, in any walk, you know, student journalism or kind of just extracurricular, or if there's something to study, do it, and don't expect to walk into a job. I think nowadays people, you know, young people really want to kind of be famous straight away or make lots of money straight away. You are much more likely to be successful if you start at the bottom and work your way up. You get the respect of your colleagues that way. And once you've got a foot in the door, it's quite easy to move up the ladder. But be prepared to start by making some tea.
And what would you say is the best part of your job?
I love the performance. I love the actual being on air. But I guess the reason I love my job most of all is the people I work with. You have to work very closely as a team in this kind of world, and obviously I have a co-presenter, Stuart, who I've been sitting next door to and presenting with for 12 years, and if I didn't like him as much as I do, that would be quite a long time. But we get on like a house on fire, also with Julie, our weather presenter, who is a great friend as well, and we have a very stable, very close team of reporters and producers and technical people. And you know, in any job, if you like people you work with, it makes it fun to come to work.
Right. Do you think that has anything gone horribly wrong in the studio before while presenting?
On television, luckily, not horribly wrong, which is quite a good thing because I blush terribly, and however much makeup I've got on, if something went really, really wrong, I would go so red, I would virtually melt. So I'm quite glad in television nothing really bad's happened. I mean, we have pieces that don't make it on air, we have to fill, we have things that go wrong, but nothing really hugely embarrassing has happened to me. When I was a radio presenter, I did say a very, very, very rude word on air by mistake, which I will not repeat now, but it was about the rudest word you can think of. And it was a mistake because I was trying to say something else, but I got my words muddled up, and then I tried to correct myself and I said it again, and this was all live, and I had a 10-minute news bulletin to get through before the end of it. I just remember thinking, I am just going to die of embarrassment before the end of this news bulletin, and everyone in the radio newsroom, I could see through this little window, were just falling about laughing. So that was definitely my most embarrassing moment.
And finally, SNYA Radio has been supported by View, Norwich Youth Theatre, Stephen Bumphrey, Kiss FM, the Theatre Royal. But what's your opinion of SNYA?
I think it's just great that I think SNYA in itself is great because it's young people doing positive things, and I think radio and television, starting out at a young age like this and getting as much experience as you can is a wonderful opportunity for people to have some fun, work out if they want to do it as a career, and so I think it's just a great organisation.
Thank you very much for your time.
It's been lovely to meet you.
Kevin. This has been Toby Foster. You're listening to SNYA Radio.